Stop chasing wealth for one moment and listen. If you truly knew how money worked, you would not be chasing it. You would be attracting it. You would be commanding it. You would be so saturated in belief, purpose, and law that money would have no choice but to appear, because you became the man who could hold it. But the truth is this: money is avoiding you, not by chance, but by law, because there are certain truths that govern riches. If you do not know them, you break them. And if you break them, wealth will flee from you like a shadow from the sun. Most men will spend their lives working hard and staying poor, not because they lacked effort, but because they never mastered these truths. They never formed the right thoughts. They never planted the right beliefs. They never corrected the invisible laws they violated every day. But you are not like most men. You are here. And if you listen to this speech, not casually, but consciously, and if you repeat it until it is engraved in your soul, until you can recall every principle, until these truths are not just heard but obeyed, your entire financial life will change. Because these are not tips, these are not ideas, these are laws, universal, unbreakable, eternal. And when you begin to live in harmony with these 11 truths, wealth begins to respond. Not slowly, not occasionally, but inevitably. If you drift, you will miss it. If you doubt, you will delay it. But if you listen all the way through and return to this again and again until you know it better than your own name, money will no longer avoid you. It will follow you. It will serve you. It will multiply through you. You will never be the same, because after this you will no longer hope for riches. You will expect them, and more than that, you will command them. Let us begin. Introduction: the law you cannot escape. You believe that money is a mystery. You believe that wealth belongs only to those born into fortune, or to the clever few who stumble into success by accident. But I tell you now, with absolute certainty, money follows law, and where there is law, there is order, and where there is order, there is access. Money is not a gift, it is a reward. It is not granted to the hopeful or the hard-working. It is granted to the definite. It is given to those whose thoughts are clear, whose purpose is written, whose actions are bold, and whose inner life is ruled by principle, not emotion. If money avoids you, it is not because you are unlucky. It is not because the world is unfair. It is not because others have taken more than their share. No, if wealth avoids you, it is because you are repelling it through thought, through speech, through habit, through your relationship to the unseen laws that govern riches. Every man is ruled by law, whether he knows it or not, and those who remain poor do not fail through lack of work, but through lack of understanding. They violate laws they never stop to study. They beg for wealth while speaking words of doubt. They chase money while pushing it away with fear, confusion, and mental weakness. These 11 truths are not theories. They are not ideas. They are laws. And the man who lives by law cannot be denied. You may test them, question them, challenge them, but if you listen closely and act as instructed, you will find that the world must respond. Because the mind moves first and money follows. Each of these truths will open a door. But the door does not open unless you do the turning. This speech will not change your life unless you listen with intent, unless you repeat what you hear, unless you write it down, unless you obey it as law. The man who listens once and forgets his fortune. The man who listens twice begins to understand. The man who listens 10 times begins to believe. But the man who listens daily and writes his purpose and speaks his aim and disciplines his thinking will become the master of all that he once envied. These truths are spiritual. They are invisible, but they govern what you see. They decide who rises and who remains. If you violate them, poverty is guaranteed. If you obey them, wealth is inevitable. That is the law. That is the promise. And so I say this to you: stop looking for tips. Stop hoping for secrets. Stop drifting between ideas. Anchor your life to these truths, and you will not have to ask for success again. It will begin to chase you. Now say this aloud. Do not whisper. I now learn the laws of wealth. I now obey the truth. I now attract riches through thought, speech, and persistence. Let us begin with the first truth. Desire is the gate to all riches. Truth 1. Desire is the gate to all riches. Wealth never begins with money. It begins with thought, but not any thought, a dominating thought, a thought so persistent, so emotional, so saturated with desire that it burns itself into the subconscious and commands the body into action. Desire is the beginning of all riches. Without it, you cannot begin. Most men confuse wishing with desire. They say they want wealth. They dream of luxury, freedom, and ease, but they do not burn for it. They do not crave it as the drowning man craves air. Their wish is weak. Their want is wandering. And so their life becomes a reflection of that inner frailty. There is a difference between wanting a thing and being consumed by it. Desire is not polite. It is obsessive. It occupies every waking thought. It demands attention. It creates discomfort. It does not tolerate drift. It moves a man to rise early, stay late, and work without visible reward, because the reward is already real in his mind. Let me remind you of Edwin C. Barnes. He did not say, "I would like to work with Edison someday." He said, "I will become Edison's partner." He was a poor man with no plan, no influence, no money, but he had desire. So strong it pushed him onto a freight train with nothing but the belief that he belonged in Edison's office. When he arrived, Edison saw something in Barnes that no one else did, the fire of a man who would not leave without victory. Barnes started as a janitor, but he didn't mind. His position was small, but his purpose was immense. He cleaned floors as if he already owned the building. He listened, he learned, he waited. And when Edison finally needed a man to sell his dictating machine, a product no one else believed in, he called Barnes. Why? Because desire cannot be hidden. It radiates. It speaks louder than qualifications. It signals to the universe that you are ready to receive what others are not willing to endure for. That is the power of desire, pure, definite, and backed by action. And that is what you must now build within yourself. You must write your goal. You must speak it aloud morning and night. You must read it until your mind is marked, until your emotions ignite, until your behavior aligns. Your definite chief aim is not a sentence. It is a command. It is your personal war cry. It is the statement of who you are becoming, what you demand from life, and what you are willing to give in return. Let us make this law clear. Vague desire produces vague results. Weak desire produces weak outcomes. But a definite, burning desire for wealth, backed by action, produces wealth, always, without exception. And you do not need to know how. Barnes didn't, Carnegie didn't, Ford didn't. You only need to know what. The how appears after the decision. The plan appears after the demand. Life tests your sincerity before it reveals the steps. Say this now and say it with feeling. I demand riches of life backed by desire, written purpose, and persistent action. Say it again. I demand riches of life backed by desire, written purpose, and persistent action. This is your first truth. This is the gate. If your desire is weak, stop here. Go no further. Return when you are ready to want wealth more than comfort, more than approval, more than distraction. But if your desire is burning, let us continue. Truth 2. Faith is the force that turns thought into wealth. Desire is the gate, but faith is the power that opens it. You may burn with purpose. You may want wealth with all your might, but unless you believe it can be yours, unless your mind accepts the possibility, unless your heart sees it as already done, the riches you seek will retreat before your eyes like a mirage. Faith is not hope. Faith is emotionalized certainty. It is a mental state so saturated with belief that it overrides doubt, fear, and logic. Faith sees what is not visible. It walks into the unknown without hesitation. It commands the unseen into visibility, and it is built, not gifted, through repetition. Understand this: your subconscious mind does not know the difference between truth and lie. It does not argue. It does not analyze. It only accepts. And what you speak to it daily, with emotion, becomes law. That is the secret behind autosuggestion. You impress upon your inner world until it must become your outer reality. This is why you must write your purpose and read it aloud, with feeling, with conviction, morning and night, not like a student reading a lesson, but like a general giving orders to an army. Your army is your subconscious, and your orders are your affirmations. Let us take the example of Henry Ford. When his engineers told him it was impossible to build an 8-cylinder engine in one block, he did not argue. He said, "Build it anyway." Months passed. The engineers returned with the same answer: it could not be done. And Ford replied again, "Build it anyway." Where did that power come from? It came from faith. Not arrogance, not blindness, but belief in the unseen becoming visible through decision and persistence. That engine was eventually built, not by the engineer's knowledge, but by the faith of one man who refused to doubt. That is what you must develop, not partial belief, not intellectual agreement, but emotionalized conviction. When you say, "I am rich," your mind may rebel. But if you say it every day with certainty, with repetition, with fire, it will obey. Your subconscious will accept it, and then it will begin to instruct the body to act accordingly. Faith is not magic. Faith is a mental law. What is repeated with feeling becomes identity. Identity becomes behavior. Behavior becomes wealth. That is the chain. That is the code. Break it and you remain poor. Obey it and you rise. Now let us declare your affirmation. Speak it as if it were already true, because it is. In your mind, it is already real. What I speak with belief, I attract. What I affirm, I become. Say it again. What I speak with belief, I attract. What I affirm, I become. Let that sentence become a habit. Let it ring in your mind. Speak it aloud. Speak it silently. Speak it while you walk, while you write, while you plan, until it is no longer just a thought, but your state. Do not ask how. Do not wonder when. Only believe, because the man who moves with belief commands the world to arrange itself around him, not because the world changes, but because he changed first. Now we move forward for what is faith without decision. Truth 3. Indecision is the handmaiden of poverty. Let me now give you a truth that most men never discover until it is too late. Indecision is the silent killer of success. It is the handmaiden of poverty, the quiet assassin of dreams, the unseen force that destroys more destinies than failure ever could. Every time you hesitate, you tell your subconscious mind, "I do not trust myself." Every time you delay action, you plant the seed of fear. You weaken your inner command. And the mind that does not obey itself will never command anything outside of itself, not wealth, not opportunity, not results. You must understand this. Wealth respects clarity. Money moves toward decisiveness. The universe does not respond to the man who tries, who might, who hopes. It obeys the man who decides swiftly, boldly, and without apology. The man of wealth is a man of decision. He does not wait for conditions to be perfect. He does not gather opinions from the crowd. He does not delay because of doubt. He decides. And the moment he decides, the power of his mind begins to arrange the world in accordance with his will. Let us take the example of Abraham Lincoln. He was not born into power. He was not handed success. But from a young age, he decided he would leave his mark upon history. He did not waver. He did not speak vaguely. He endured ridicule, defeat, and failure. But he decided again and again that he would rise. And rise he did. Not because he was the most talented, not because he was the most fortunate, but because his decisions became declarations, and his declarations became destiny. Indecision is the breeding ground of procrastination, and procrastination is the partner of poverty. When you hesitate, opportunity flees. When you pause in fear, wealth chooses another man, not because you were unworthy, but because you were unclear. And clarity is a choice. You must train yourself to decide, not after comfort, not after approval, not after guarantees, but in faith. The man who decides in the dark will soon walk in the light, but the man who waits for light will never move at all. Let this now become your habit. Decide quickly, adjust slowly, move forward, commit your thoughts to paper and your words to action. Do not revisit what you have resolved, for the world moves for the man who moves without flinching. Speak now with authority. I decide swiftly. I act without fear. The world moves for the man who knows his mind. Say it again, and this time say it like your life depends on it. I decide swiftly. I act without fear. The world moves for the man who knows his mind. If you wish to build wealth, you must stop tolerating indecision in your speech, in your thoughts, in your steps. The man who becomes rich is the man who chooses, not someday, but now. Write your goal. Decide what you want. Make the decision permanent. Let every cell in your body obey. Let your habits follow. Let your surroundings adjust. But you do not waver. We move now from the decision to the seedbed of all creation, thought. For you become what you dwell upon. Truth 4, you become what you think about most. You may write down your purpose. You may decide with clarity. But until your thoughts are ruled, your life will remain chaotic. The man who thinks without order lives without wealth. The man whose mind is ruled by drift can never master material riches, for he has not mastered the realm from which riches emerge. The truth is this: you become what you think about most. That is not poetry, it is law. Your thoughts, especially those you dwell on with emotion and repetition, shape the vibrations of your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, once saturated with a dominating thought, creates physical form. You may say, I want wealth. But if you spend most of your day thinking of scarcity, envying others, worrying about bills, and doubting your ability, you are not thinking wealth. You are thinking poverty. And by law, poverty is what will be reproduced in your life. The subconscious is neutral. It is the soil. You are the sower. And it does not care whether you plant seeds of wealth or seeds of ruin. It only grows what you feed it, what you repeat with belief, what you dwell upon with emotion. Let me repeat it. Emotion plus repetition equals reality. Take the example of W. Clement Stone. He built one of the largest insurance empires in the world through a single idea, PMA, positive mental attitude. He filled his mind daily with success principles. He trained his thoughts like an athlete trains his body. And the result? He became a magnet for wealth, for ideas, for power. Stone once said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." He didn't say it once. He didn't say it when he felt good. He said it until it became him, until his subconscious had no other option but to obey. Now, let me ask you, what do you think about most? When you are alone? When you wake up? When you drift into sleep? What thoughts repeat without resistance? For whatever they are, you are becoming them. If you think wealth with belief, with discipline, with daily repetition, you begin to act accordingly. You begin to speak differently. You move with precision, and the world notices. And opportunities appear, not by chance, but by mental law. If you think fear with repetition, you hesitate, you stall, you procrastinate, you emit confusion. And so, the world reflects it right back. Poverty, fear, lack, they are not curses. They are the natural children of disordered thought. Now you must become the master of your own mind, and the first tool of mastery is controlled attention. You must direct your focus. You must decide what occupies your inner space. You must protect your thoughts as a king protects his throne, because thought is the throne of destiny. Let us engrave this in your mind with a command. I am the master of my mind. I hold only thoughts of power, wealth, purpose, and belief. Say it again and mean it. I am the master of my mind. I hold only thoughts of power, wealth, purpose, and belief. Now begin the practice of substitution. When a weak thought appears, replace it. When doubt arises, speak belief. When fear whispers, declare certainty. Do not fight your thoughts. Replace them, overwrite them, command them. Your mind is a factory. It will produce whatever you instruct it to. If you do not give it instructions, it will default to fear. It will drift into poverty. But if you give it a definite chief aim and repeat that aim with conviction, it will go to work. And it will not stop until reality aligns. Repeat, affirm, visualize, speak. This is not fluff. This is mental construction. And every brick you lay is a thought. So make them strong, make them clear, make them wealthy. You now know the law. You become what you think about most. Truth 5, fear is poverty's favorite tool. There is a hidden force at work in the minds of men. It is subtle, silent, and deadly. It does not shout. It whispers. It does not strike. It suggests. And before a man knows it, he is paralyzed. He is confused. He is drifting. He is poor. That force is fear, and fear is poverty's greatest ally. Fear does not appear in the form of terror. It appears in the form of hesitation. It creeps into your plans as a question. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not ready? And if you entertain it, if you do not kill it swiftly, it will wrap around your decision like a rope around the neck of ambition. Let me be clear. You cannot hold fear and wealth in the same mind. One will drive the other out, and the one you feed will win. This is not opinion. This is mental law. I have described in detail the 6 ghosts of fear. They are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. These are the invisible chains that bind men to lives of quiet failure. But the fear of poverty is the most destructive. It infects the mind. It breeds indecision. It magnifies problems. It reduces imagination. It creates a pattern of drift, of delay, of endless waiting. And most men never fight it because they've accepted it as normal. But poverty is not normal. It is not noble. It is not spiritual. It is a condition produced by thought and reversed by thought, but only if the mind is purged of fear and filled with faith and desire. Let us take an example. There are millions of men who will never start a business, never invest, never ask for what they are worth, not because they are incapable, but because they are afraid. Afraid of losing money, afraid of being laughed at, afraid of stepping outside the lines drawn by mediocre minds. Now I ask you, what has fear ever given you? Did it reward you for caution? Did it protect your dreams? Number. Fear only steals. It gives nothing. It kills imagination. It shrinks belief. It suffocates the spirit. And worst of all, it attracts the very thing you fear. The man who fears poverty thinks of poverty. He speaks of lack. He hesitates before opportunity. And so by law, poverty becomes his reality. Not because life is cruel, but because his mind made it so. If you wish to rise, you must declare war on fear. You must call it by name. You must refuse to obey its suggestions. You must act even when it trembles inside you. And with every act of courage, you sever the chain. I will give you now a weapon, a spoken weapon. Say this aloud and speak it as if fear were standing in front of you. I do not fear poverty. I do not fear criticism. I rise above fear by acting with faith. Say it again, louder, sharper. I do not fear poverty. I do not fear criticism. I rise above fear by acting with faith. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual war. You are training your subconscious to believe that fear is a liar and that you are the authority now. Every time you act in spite of fear, you gain power. Every time you move forward when others flinch, the world gives way. The opportunities you thought were locked begin to open, not because they changed, but because you changed. Fear will not leave you unless you attack it. Passivity strengthens it. Delay feeds it. But action, decisive, repeated, definite action, destroys it. Now choose. Will you continue to allow fear to write your story, or will you seize the pen and burn every page it wrote? If you are ready, then we move forward into the realm of structure and power. Truth 6. Money obeys the law of organized planning. Money is obedient, but only to order. It will not serve the confused nor reward the vague. It will not build a home on guesswork, nor stay with a man who wanders. Money obeys the law of organized planning. And until you submit your dreams to structure, riches will remain just that, a dream. Many men possess desire. Fewer possess faith. But even fewer ever sit in silence, sharpen their mind, and write a definite plan of attainment. They think that energy alone will suffice, that intensity is enough. But what is a fire without direction? It burns wild and consumes itself. Desire without plan is destruction. You must write the steps. You must number them. You must know the next move at all times. The man who cannot answer, "What shall I do next?" is not ready for wealth, because the subconscious mind must be given a blueprint to execute. And if you give it none, it will build nothing. Let me give you the story of Andrew Carnegie. He amassed one of the greatest fortunes the world has ever seen, not because he worked harder than every man, though he did work, but because he organized. He built a system of duplication, delegation, and deliberate focus. He planned, he refined, he executed. Likewise, Rockefeller knew the value of order. He systematized oil. He structured wealth. He brought clarity to chaos, and fortune followed. His steps were measured. His vision was grand, but it was anchored in structure. Now I ask you, where is your plan? Do not tell me your goal if you cannot show me your steps. Do not speak of wealth if your schedule is ruled by drift. Write it out. How much do you want? By when? What service will you render? What value will you create? How will you begin? A plan does not need to be perfect, but it must exist. It must be definite. It must be revisited, improved, lived. And here is the secret. The plan will reveal more plans. As you move forward in faith, more of the path will unfold, but only to the man in motion. The drifter receives no light. Here is your next exercise. Write your plan, not in your mind, but on paper. Read it aloud. Adjust it monthly. Let your subconscious digest it. Obey it. Execute it. And say this now with full command. I plan. I persist. I adapt. I am not vague. I am not drifting. Say it again, like a builder laying the first stone. I plan, I persist, I adapt, I am not vague, I am not drifting. You are now dangerous, for the man who plans, persists, and believes cannot be stopped. And now you will learn the secret of increase, the law that multiplies all who obey it. Truth 7. You must go the extra mile. No man receives more than he gives, and no man keeps what he did not earn. If you wish to possess wealth, you must first become the man who is worthy of it. And the fastest, surest, most spiritual way to wealth is through the law of going the extra mile. This law is simple, but few obey it. It states, render more service and better service than you are paid for. Do it willingly. Do it with purpose. Do it as if the whole world were watching, because it is. Most men ask, what do I get? The rich man asks, what more can I give? The poor man waits to be paid before he exerts himself. The rich man gives more than he is paid, and thus attracts more than he could ever demand. Let me repeat that. He who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does. The world rewards the man who exceeds expectations, who astonishes, who brings excellence without being forced to. because that man is rare, and wealth always flows to the rare. Let us turn to the story of Charles M. Schwab. He began as a laborer in Carnegie's steel empire. He did not demand attention. He did not seek applause, but he gave more effort, more care, more initiative than any man around him. Carnegie noticed. He tested him. Schwab gave more still. And in time, Carnegie made him president of U.S. Steel, because no title outranks the habit of giving more. Do not misunderstand. This is not about overwork. It is about excellence. It is about walking into every room, every task, every conversation with the spirit of advancement, not only for yourself, but for all involved. To leave everything better than you found it. This principle is magnetic. It draws allies. It multiplies trust. It creates reputation, and reputation is wealth. A man who is known for excellence will never lack opportunity, because value attracts reward. This is the secret few understand. Wealth chases usefulness. The man who gives average receives poverty. The man who gives excellence receives power. And here is your command. In everything you do, go farther. Think deeper, act sharper, serve better. Do not wait to be told. Let your standard speak so loudly that others must rise to meet it. Speak this affirmation aloud. I give more than I am paid for. I exceed expectations. I work as if I already possess wealth. Say it again, with pride, with clarity. I give more than I am paid for. I exceed expectations. I work as if I already possess wealth. This is not fantasy. This is the discipline of kings. You are now becoming a man the world cannot ignore, because you give more than you must, and you do it without complaint. And now you must turn to the circle around you, for no man rises alone. Truth 8, environment shapes destiny. You may possess desire. You may speak with faith. You may act with purpose. But if you surround yourself with poverty of thought, with fear, with doubt, your results will reflect your environment. A man cannot climb while chained to those who refuse to rise. This is the 8th truth. Environment shapes destiny. The mind is contagious. It absorbs what it hears, mirrors what it sees, and conforms to the rhythm of those nearest to it. You may intend to become rich, but if your daily associations are governed by criticism, complaint, laziness, and envy, your subconscious will conform. There is no neutrality in your environment. Every man you allow into your circle is either lifting your thoughts or dragging them down. Every conversation, every opinion, every influence either fortifies your faith or poisons it with doubt. You must now begin the practice of environmental protection. Guard your ears, guard your eyes, guard your time, not with arrogance, but with reverence for your purpose. You were not born to blend in. You were born to build. And builders do not construct palaces in swamps. They clear the land. They raise the standard. They surround themselves with others who are building. This is the purpose of the mastermind. It is the alliance of 2 or more minds, united in faith, purpose, and belief. It multiplies thought. It amplifies power. It shortens time. And no man becomes wealthy without it. Let me remind you, Edison, Ford, and Firestone held retreats together. They walked together. They planned together. They shared ideas, encouraged belief, and refined one another's thinking. Birds of wealth fly together. They are not found in the common branches of casual opinion. So I now command you, build your mastermind. Do not wait. Do not make excuses. Find 1 man or 2 who believe as you believe. Meet regularly. Speak of purpose, of power, of planning. Let your combined energy become a force, for 1 mind can achieve. But 2 minds united in faith can move empires. If your environment is weak, change it. If your circle is faithless, shrink it. If your daily rhythm is filled with drift, disrupt it. Your destiny is too costly to leave it in the hands of doubt. Now say this aloud. I walk with the strong. I think with the great. I allow only belief in my circle. Again, with greater conviction, I walk with the strong, I think with the great, I allow only belief in my circle. Look around you now. What do you permit that should be purged? Who do you entertain that does not serve your mission? What influence must be removed so that wealth may enter? Make the decision. For no seed can grow in toxic soil. You are building momentum. Your mind is sharp. Your faith is active. Now let us sharpen the blade of action. Truth 9, money respects persistence. The world tests every man before it blesses him. It delays success not to deny it, but to determine who is worthy. And the line between poverty and fortune is drawn not by talent, not by intelligence, but by the silent, unyielding force of persistence. Most men quit. That is why most men are poor. They begin with excitement. They write plans. They declare goals. But at the first sign of difficulty, they stall. They second guess. They retreat. And life withdraws its rewards, not because they were unqualified, but because they refused to endure. You must learn this now. Money respects persistence, not passion, not novelty, not good intentions. Only the man who persists, who refuses to turn back, who continues to advance when others give up, only that man becomes rich. The mind must be trained to finish. The body must be commanded to continue. When pain comes, you persist. When delay arrives, you persist. When confusion clouds the path, you persist. For every barrier bends beneath the man who refuses to stop. Let me remind you of the story of R.U. Darby. He mined for gold in Colorado. He found a vein, bought equipment, dug deeper, and then the gold vanished. He kept digging, but eventually he quit, sold the machinery, left the mine. The junk dealer who bought it consulted an engineer who found the fault line, and just 3 feet from where Darby stopped lay a fortune. That's where most men quit, 3 feet from gold. They walk away from riches because they cannot bear the silence before success. But the man who persists learns that nothing resists the man who insists. Persistence is not stubbornness. It is not foolish repetition. It is faith in motion. It is the mental habit of forward movement. It is saying, though I do not see the result, I believe. And because I believe, I continue. Every day that you persist, you engrave faith deeper into your subconscious. And every act of persistence weakens fear and strengthens belief. You become immune to delay. You become addicted to completion. You become the type of man money cannot ignore. Now say this and mean it. I do not stop. I do not retreat. I persist until wealth is mine. Again, with greater command, I do not stop. I do not retreat. I persist until wealth is mine. This is your weapon. This is your armor. When others sleep, persist. When others doubt, persist. When others drift, persist. And riches, though delayed, will arrive in full measure, because you qualified through the fire of endurance. Your foundation is nearly complete. Now we turn inward to the man you must become. Truth 10. You must be worthy of money. Money is not loyal to the needy. It is not drawn to the desperate. It does not reward the man who complains, nor bless the one who resents its absence. Money is not sentimental. It flows to the man who is worthy of it. Worthiness is not about your past. It is not about your family, your education, or what others think you deserve. It is about your value. And value is measured in thought, service, discipline, and belief. You may demand riches, but if you have not made yourself into a vessel capable of carrying wealth, you will lose what you gain. The world is filled with men who rose by chance and fell by weakness, because their inner world was too small to hold what their outer world delivered. To become worthy of money, you must become useful. You must solve problems. You must create results. You must possess a mind that can command complexity, a will that can endure pressure, and a spirit that does not falter when comfort calls. Understand this law. Money follows usefulness, and usefulness is built through discipline, refinement, and practice. You must think better, speak clearer, Work stronger. Make your presence a solution wherever you go. Let us consider the example of Woodrow Wilson. He was not born a conqueror. He was not born with command. But he believed in his ability to grow into leadership. He sharpened his speech. He refined his intellect. He prepared for an opportunity that had not yet arrived. And when it did, he was ready. The same will be true for you. If you prepare, the door will open. If you delay, the door will remain closed, not because the world is unfair, but because the world does not open for the unready. So I now ask you, what are you doing daily to increase your worth? What are you studying? What are you refining? What skill are you mastering? What problem are you solving? Do not expect compensation without contribution. And more, do not expect abundance while you still speak like a pauper, think like a beggar, act like a drifter. Worthiness is identity, and identity is built through thought, word, and repeated deed. Now speak this aloud. Speak it like a man preparing for command. I prepare, I produce, I provide value, I earn and attract what I am ready to hold. Again, with deeper conviction, I prepare, I produce, I provide value, I earn and attract what I am ready to hold. Write it, repeat it, make it a law within your mind. For when you become the man who deserves wealth, you will not need to chase it. It will recognize you. And now we approach the great truth that ties all others together. Truth 11. Repetition is the master builder of wealth. You have now walked through 10 truths, each one powerful, each one essential. But without the 11th, they will vanish. They will evaporate like mist beneath the sun. Why? Because the mind does not remember by intention. It remembers by repetition. All riches, spiritual, mental, or material, are built by the same law. The subconscious mind accepts what is given to it again and again. One statement of belief is not enough. One burst of faith is not enough. One act of courage is not enough. It is the repeated thought, the repeated act, the repeated declaration that makes it permanent. You may speak your goal, but do you speak it daily? Do you write it nightly? Do you affirm it until your emotions obey? For unless you do, your results will be inconsistent. Your drive will fade, and your belief will return to drift. Let us speak plainly. The man who becomes wealthy is not the man who learns the most. He is the man who learns a little and never forgets. He picks a handful of truths, repeats them constantly, and lives them with precision. He turns them into identity. Identity is repetition. The man who says, I am a builder, I am a man of wealth, I am a force, until he believes it, becomes it. His thoughts match, his behavior aligns, his results appear, not suddenly, but inevitably. Look at every man who has conquered. Ford, Edison, Carnegie, Lincoln, Rockefeller. None of them became giants by accident. They hammered the same belief day and night. They saw the vision before it arrived. They repeated their aim in silence. They endured while others wandered because they repeated what they believed until belief became law. Let me ask you, how often do you repeat your definite chief aim? Do you speak it aloud each morning? Do you look at it before sleep? Do you let it burn in your mind so brightly that no fear survives its heat? If not, then begin. Today, tonight, forever. Write your aim, write your affirmations, read them aloud, twice daily without exception. Speak with emotion. Act as if they were already true. And when your emotions doubt, speak louder. When your belief falters, repeat with more feeling. You may feel silly at first. That is only because you are used to repeating the wrong things: fear, delay, hesitation. Now you are replacing that weakness with strength. Repetition is mental construction. Every repetition adds another brick to the identity you are building. And when it is strong enough, when it becomes dominant, you will act without resistance. You will move with command, and wealth will obey. Speak now your affirmation, the one that cements this truth. I repeat until it becomes me. I repeat until the world believes me. I repeat until wealth obeys. Again, with total power, I repeat until it becomes me. I repeat until the world believes me. I repeat until wealth obeys. Let no man tell you that results are random. They are not. They are repeated thoughts made physical. And now you are the one who repeats with purpose. And so we arrive at the final moment. You have heard the laws. Now the question remains, will you obey them? Outro, the final command. Know, believe, act. You have walked through the furnace of instruction. You have been handed truth after truth, not theory, but law. Not encouragement, but command. Not advice for the hopeful, but instruction for the ready. Now the hour comes for the question all great men must answer. What will you do with it? Do not make the error of believing that hearing is enough. It is not. The man who listens once will forget. The man who listens again will remember. But the man who listens daily, he becomes the law. This is how belief becomes identity. Let me ask you plainly, do you remember Truth 6? Stop now. Think. What was its message? What was its instruction? Do you recall? If not, you have proven the power of repetition. And you must now go back. Listen again. Repeat this speech until you know each truth like the back of your hand. This is the final truth. Repetition is the mother of mastery. Do not expect to command wealth if you cannot recite the laws that govern it. You would not step onto a battlefield without weapons. Do not step into life without these truths engraved upon your mind. You were not born to drift. You were not created to beg. You were not placed here to hope while others build. You were given the most powerful tool in the world, your mind. And now you possess the blueprint that bends the world to its direction. Now speak your affirmations aloud, not as memory, but as identity. I am no longer a beggar, I am a builder. I live by law, not luck. I have learned the truths. I obey them. I command wealth because I have become wealth. Say them again, then write them, then act upon them. The truths are not for listening, they are for living. Now I command you, write your definite chief aim. Speak it aloud morning and night. Surround yourself with faith, not fear. Plan your work, work your plan. Serve more than you are paid for. Walk with the strong. Persist without complaint. Become a vessel of value. And repeat, repeat, repeat. If you do this, you will not be able to stop your rise. Wealth will begin to recognize you. Circumstances will shift. Men will wonder what changed. And only you will know. You obeyed the laws. And so the world obeyed you. Now, begin again. Not tomorrow, now. For the man who delays once will delay again. But the man who decides once and acts becomes unstoppable. This is the end of the instruction, but it is the beginning of your rise. Let me ask one final time. Do you remember Truth 6? If not, go back. Repetition builds power. Obedience builds wealth. The world owes you nothing, but it will kneel to the man who kneels before these truths. Go now. Repeat until you are transformed. Speak until you believe. Act until you become. And one day, when you stand upon the summit, others will ask how you did it. And you will say, I listened, I believed, I obeyed. The law has spoken, now live by it.